It's time again for the Insiders with Chuck Chvala and Scott Jensen, sponsored by the Wisconsin Counties Association and the Tommy G. Thompson Center on Public Leadership.
Hi, I'm Chuck Chvala, former Senate Majority Leader.
And I'm Scott Jensen, former Assembly Speaker.
We're the Insiders. So, Scott, we got the primary season coming up here. I know there's a bunch of them on the legislative side from the Democratic standpoint. How's it looking on the Republican side, and what kind of a year does it look like in the primary elections? What are the most significant ones out there?
You know, we don't have as many heavy primaries on the Republican side this time around. There's a couple of incumbents in the state assembly, Mark Bourne and Chance Green, who face primary challenges from people who ran against them last time, and they dispatched those people. So my guess is that's going to be the answer again this time. We have one competitive or somewhat competitive state Senate seat in the far northwest, which is open. The Democrats have a pretty good candidate there, so who the Republicans pick matters in that race. And we have two former state assembly members running there, Eric Severson and Angie Sapik, and they both are accomplished people. They've both done the job before. I think they would both be strong candidates in the general election. So it's kind of what flavor Republican you want. But I think whoever wins that primary is likely to win the general election. We have, like almost every election lately, we have a blast from the past in one of these primaries. We have Bill Lorge, former Elvis impersonator and state legislator, thorn in the side of leadership, is trying to make a comeback, does not play well with others. We'll see. We'll see how that race goes in the Appleton area. But again, most of this excitement is on your side of the aisle in these primaries, Chuck.
Well, if we're going to go to old timers, Lou Mitniss, people who remember the 70s may remember Lou Mitniss served, really good, nice man, good man on the Democratic side. His grandson is running down in southwest Wisconsin in the open Jenna Jacobson seat. The theme that you're going to hear from me here is challenges to incumbents and maybe, even the socialist agenda being challenged or being advanced. And then the other thing you're going to hear is one of the things you're going to hear is a lot more activity on the Dem side. Why is that? Because the Republicans are leaving in droves. And that's creating opportunity, and people want to be there in the majority. So you're going to see that there's an active primary with Francesca Hong's seat. The Jenna Jacobson seat has a really active primary, and Robin Vining. What's the consistent thing with Jenna and Vining? They're both running for the state Senate. Francesca Hong is running for governor. But let's turn to three incumbents who are being challenged, because I think that gives you something. On the socialist side, Ryan Clancy has a serious opponent. He's being opposed by Bridget Maniaci. And people say, I remember that name. She was in Madison. She actually moved from Madison over to Milwaukee. She ran for mayor, was active politically here for a long time. The question is, will Ryan Clancy win? I'm talking to a lot of people on the inside, and they're claiming to me that they believe Ryan Clancy will win again. He won last time against a primary, and I don't think that his quote-unquote socialist agenda is going to defeat him. In fact, there are many Democrats moving in the direction of, hey, income inequality, wealth inequality, things have to change. The other incumbent that actually ADCC has endorsed against, or I believe has endorsed against, certainly is helping, Sylvia Ortiz Velez. She is being challenged by Ismael Luna, and I think she is probably going to go down. She has not talked about not playing well in the sandbox. I believe she refused to caucus with Democrats after a while. That's not something you can have in your caucus or running unopposed. If you're going to look at maybe a 1 or a 2 vote majority, that just doesn't work. So I think you're going to see a challenge. She, at one point, there was some question about whether this was serious or not, but threatened to shoot colleagues with AK-47s or something. I don't know exactly what it was. I don't think it was considered serious at the end, but that's not the kind of thing you want to have as a problem in your caucus. Finally, there are two gentlemen running in Milwaukee. Russell Goodwin's the incumbent. Jordan Roman is a solid candidate running against him, and that could go either way. I don't think there's a particular ideological bent here that's causing a problem. And I think that takes up a lot of space. We could talk about more primaries, but I would say Scott is correct that certainly in the 25th, the Republican who wins will be favored. However, I would say this. I think in this kind of year, that's the kind of seat, and Democrats in the Senate have decided to expand their reach to that. I think this is the kind of year where that could happen. And if you see the 25th, the Northern Wisconsin seat going Democratic this year, you'll know it's not a wave, it's a tsunami.
Well, I think the most consequential primary on the Democratic side is perhaps the Sylvia Ortiz race. The Democrats want her out. They want a person who will play well with others in their caucus. They've come after her before, and they have not been successful in picking her off. What they have been successful in doing is raising her profile, making her seem more like a maverick in Madison, and made her think, well, if my party isn't going to embrace me and let me in the meetings with the rest of the gang, maybe I should be playing with the other folks. And not that she's going to change parties or anything, but she has voted with Republicans on a couple of issues over the last few years. The race for control of the state assembly is going to be very, very close. That seat and who represents it could be a decisive factor. So that, I think, is the most consequential primary on the Democratic side.
And I think Scott is right about that and can have some consequences. But I think listening to what Scott says, if you're a Democrat, again, be very afraid of her coming back, because she is the one person who could, in a one vote majority, essentially stymie anything in the Democratic agenda. And I don't think that, as Scott points out, the Democratic primary is generally a pretty progressive place to be. I think there's going to be enough information out there that people will, in a Democratic primary, not be willing to vote for her. And I don't think she'll get enough Republican crossover vote to carry her through.
No, but she is a wild card in Madison, and there are districts around the state who they like people who are a wild card in Madison rather than somebody who just follows the team on everything. So there's a difference between the voters, what they want, and what the Madison leadership would prefer. I knew that when I was speaker. There were times I was frustrated by who the voters sent to me, and would have to figure out a way to work with them. And maybe the Democratic leadership needs to find a way to work with her. We'll see.
I think the better alternative is to get a Democrat elected in that seat, and I'm with them on being for someone else, because you can't caucus with the party that you claim to be with. You've got a problem. And if you start threatening people in that caucus, you've got an even bigger problem. I think you're going to see a change there, but we'll see. Scott may be right. We'll see you next time.
You've been listening to The Insider with Chuck Chvala and Scott Jensen, sponsored by the Wisconsin Counties Association and the Tommy G. Thompson Center on Public Leadership.